And today we're talking about the phrasal verb to do without, or to go without. If we say that I'm doing without something, it means that I've removed this thing from my usual routine. It means that I'm surviving without it. I don't think I could do without chocolate. This example shows that I don't think I could survive without chocolate. We also use the verb to go without in the same way. The only difference is that do without is like survive, and go without describes when you struggle in a difficult situation because you don't have something. I went without chocolate for a week and it was horrible. So go without also means something like survive. The phrasal verb to cut someone off. Now this phrasal verb has several different meanings. A lot of times we say cut someone off when we're talking about driving a car. You know, one car is moving and another car drives in front of it, so the first car can't move forward anymore. We can say that the second car cut him off. In British English, they might use a different word. They might say overtake someone. But in American English, people usually say cut someone off. Cut someone off could also be used to describe the situation when someone is speaking and another person starts speaking over him, forcing the first person to stop speaking. We can say, in the middle of his speech, he was cut off by a reporter. This means that the reporter started speaking and stopped him from speaking. In general, cut off means something like interrupt, or to make someone stop doing an activity. For example, if I think you had too much beer, I can cut you off, or stop letting you drink beer, not give you any more beer. A lot of bars have a rule about cutting off drunk people. So as you can see, we can use this phrasal verb in a lot of different situations. Today, our phrasal verb is to turn around. And we're going to talk about 3 different meanings of this verb. First, to turn around just means when you face the opposite direction. Like this. I turned around. So if you're walking away from someone, they might tell you, hey, turn around, come back. Another meaning of turn around is when a situation changes to the opposite. For example, a football match. They were losing 2-0, but he managed to turn it around. They were losing, and he changed the situation so that they weren't losing. I have really bad grades this semester. I really need to turn my grades around. In this case, he has bad grades, and he needs to not have bad grades. Another meaning of turn around is to do something immediately after another action. For example, he looked me in the eyes and said that he wouldn't drink. Then he turned around and drank. This means that almost the next second, or very soon after, he drank. And this was different from what he had promised before. I hope that helps you understand the phrasal verb to turn around. Don't forget to press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment under the video. Today we're talking about the phrasal verb to go ahead. So we're going to talk about 2 meanings of this phrasal verb. The first meaning is when we tell someone, you can do it, or start doing it. For example, you can go ahead and take notes when you watch my video. This means I'm telling you, you should take notes when you watch my video. Another way of saying go ahead in this meaning would be like, feel free to do this, or you are able to do this. The second meaning of go ahead is when we tell a person to do an action first. For example, we're entering a building and we tell a person, go ahead. This means you enter first. Or maybe you're in a classroom and you know the answer to a question and you raise your hand. And another student also raises his hand at the same time. The other student looks at you and says, go ahead. This means you go first. We're talking about the phrasal verb to hang out. Now sure, there are a couple different meanings of this phrasal verb, but there's one main meaning. That's the one we're going to focus on. First, let me mention one of the other meanings. Of course, to hang means to put an object over another object, like when you hang your coat when you come in the door, or maybe hang a picture on the wall. If something is hanging out, that means that it's hanging and part of it is sticking out of another object. For example, your pocket. I could say, you have $5 hanging out of your pocket. This means I see that part of the $5 is in the pocket and part of the $5 is out of the pocket, and it's hanging on the pocket. But the real meaning of hang out, as we usually use it in speech, is to spend time doing something. It might be with other people, it might be alone, it might be at a party, it might be at school. It doesn't matter where you are, who you're with, or what you're doing, you can always use hang out to mean spend time doing something. I like to hang out with my friends. How often do you hang out with your friends? Someone can call me when I'm at home alone watching TV and they can say, "Hey Chris, what are you doing?" And I can say, "I'm just hanging out." They can call me when I'm at a party with 1,000 people and say, "Hey Chris, what are you doing?" And I can say, "I'm just hanging out." Hang out is really a universal word that we use a lot. We're talking about the phrasal verb to get back at someone. Basically, this phrasal verb means to get revenge. When somebody does something bad to you and you want to do something equally bad to them, we can say, "I'm going to get back at him," or "I'm going to get revenge on him." Now, of course, a lot of people say that you shouldn't get back at other people, that you should just forgive them, because there's such a thing as karma, which will result in something bad for you happening later. I don't know if you believe all that, but for some reason, people like to get back at other people, even when they're not sure that someone did something bad to them in the first place. We usually use this verb with negative meaning, so you don't usually get back at someone for doing something good to you. Even if we said this, it would mean that we did something bad to them for doing something good to us. That's just what get back at means. We're talking about 3 phrasal verbs: to get up, to wake up, and to stand up. So we have our work cut out for us today. Actually, I hear a lot of mistakes with these 3 verbs. Today we're going to clear that up for you. First of all, to get up has 2 meanings. In general, we can think about the verb get like the verb to become. So first, you're in a position that is not up. For example, right now I'm sitting down. If I get up, it means that I change positions so that I am up. But you might be asking yourselves, when you get up from sitting down, don't you stand up? And you're right, you do stand up after you've been sitting down. But you can also get up after you've been sitting down. Get up is more versatile than stand up or wake up. Wake up can only be used after we have been sleeping. And usually we compare wake up and get up. They're 2 different things. First you're sleeping, and then you open your eyes. You wake up, and then you get out of your bed. You get up. This is the difference. First you wake up, then you get up. As we said, you can get up after you've been sitting, but you can also get up after you've been laying. It really doesn't matter what position you're in, as long as you're not already in an up position. I hope that helps you clear up the difference between get up, wake up, and stand up. Make sure you press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment under the video. We're talking about the phrasal verbs to stand down and to sit up. Yeah, you're probably thinking, don't you mean stand up and sit down? No, I mean stand down and sit up. That's right, there are other combinations of these words that have meanings. If we tell someone, sit up, it means to sit straight. I don't know about you, but in school I usually like to sit like this. And the teacher always told me, "Chris, sit up." Stand down also has a different meaning from stand up. We usually use the term stand down in military speech. For example, you're a general and you gave a soldier a command. The soldier is going to fulfill the command and you tell him, "Wait, you don't need to fulfill the command anymore. Stand down." Stand down, it's like abort or cancel that, or you don't need to follow the orders anymore. Stand down might also be used when we tell a person to relax or move away. For example, in a film, you might see one criminal screaming at another person, and his boss says, "Stand down," like, "Let me handle this," or "Relax." I hope that helps you understand the difference between stand down and stand up, and sit down and sit up. We're talking about the phrasal verb to get around. It actually has several different meanings. The first one we're going to talk about is about transport and traveling. Get around describes a usual method of movement in a city or in a general area. How do you get around? I usually get around by car. If I want to travel to a different city or country, I travel by plane. But I don't do it regularly, so I can't say that I get around by plane. When we say get around, it describes how you move regularly, as a routine. We might also use it to describe how easy it is to travel in a certain city, maybe a city that we're not from. We might say, it's much easier to get around in Moscow than it is in Chicago. Another meaning of get around is the verb to get around something or someone. This means that you don't need to follow what this person tells you or follow what a rule or law says. We might say, You need to complete 20 hours before you can get this certificate, but I got around the 20 hours. It means that I did something and found a way to not do the 20 hours and still get what I wanted. We're talking about the phrasal verb to get away, and we're going to talk about two meanings. The first one you probably already know. Get away is like go away, or leave the place that I'm at. The difference between get away and go away is just that get sounds more urgent. You need to move now. She was crying and I tried to hug her, but she told me to get away. Another meaning that this verb has is to travel away from the place that you are usually at. For example, your house or your hometown. We might say, I see the same people every day. I really need to get away. This means I need to travel. I need to go somewhere new and see something new and do something new. Do you need to get away? Leave me a comment below the video. Today's phrasal verb is to fill up, to fill in, and to fill out. They all use the verb to fill. We fill something that's empty or that's not full. If we fill something in, usually it means that there's an empty space or a blank space and we should put some information there. But not only information, it could be some kind of material also. For example, maybe there's a hole in the wall. We could fill the hole in so that the wall looks like there's not a hole. When we say fill out, it means something like complete, that some of the information that we need is missing and we want to complete the information. And if we say fill up, this usually means that there's a container that's empty and we want to fill the container to the top. Now those are the usual meanings of these verbs, but we can also use them in a more metaphoric meaning. If we fill somebody in, this means that we tell them information. We bring them up to date. So now they know what's happening. Hey, did you hear what's happening down at the factory? No, fill me in. Fill out also has another meaning. Fill out could be used to describe how clothes fit a person. We could say, a year ago, those jeans didn't fit her, but now she fills them out. This means that now you can see all of her body in these jeans. The jeans are full with her. Fill up also has a different meaning. My grandma always told me, before you eat dinner, don't fill up on snacks. In this case, fill up means your stomach is like a container, and you fill it with something. After you eat, you could say, I'm full. We're talking about a lot of different phrasal verbs. They all have a very similar meaning, so we're going to group them into one video, but there are actually several of them. To understand this group of phrasal verbs, first of all, we're going to talk about just the verbs and just the particles. So we're going to talk about 3 different verbs that we can combine with 3 different particles to make phrasal verbs that basically mean the same thing. And the verbs are to drop, to stop, and to come. The particles are by, in, and through. So we could say to drop by or to drop in. They both mean to stop in a place unexpectedly or to visit someone unplanned. Could also say stop by, stop in, or stop through, like to visit a place in an unplanned way, and usually for a short period of time. We could also say to come by or to come through. All of these verbs that we just talked about mean to stop in a place, to visit a place, or maybe even just to visit a person, unexpectedly, unplanned, and for a short period of time. We're talking about the phrasal verb to make way. Usually we use this verb when we're talking about a king. Yeah, in some films you can probably hear them say this. They say, make way for the king! It means the king is coming and you should create space so the king can walk or so that the king can move through. But we can also use it in other situations, not only about a king. Anytime that we use the phrase make way, it means to move out of the way, to create space. It also means that someone is trying to move past you, or someone is trying to move through an area that's currently blocked. So next time someone's in your way, you should tell them, make way! And if you think you're a king, you can say, make way for the king. We're talking about the phrasal verb to fall in love with, and also the highly controversial to fall out of love with, but equally important. That's right, in English we say fall in love with someone. Usually when you fall, you get hurt. Well, this is the same. Falling in love with someone can be a very difficult process. Falling out of love with someone can be just as difficult. What do they mean? Well, fall in love with someone means to develop a strong emotional attachment to a person. Usually to a person. Fall out of love with someone means to lose a strong emotional attachment to a person. Yeah, almost always to a person. But not always to a person. We might say that he fell in love with her voice. We could say, when he was a child, he fell in love with rock music. How do you say to fall in love with someone in your language? Write a comment below and let me know. Today's phrasal verb is to swear by something. If I say that I swear by something, it means that I really believe in it. I think that this thing is perfect and that other people should use it. For example, my iPhone. I swear by my iPhone. It means I use it a lot, and I think it's very useful. It probably also means that I think other people should use it too. The verb to swear has a lot of different meanings. To swear could mean to say a bad word. To swear could also mean to make a strong promise. And when we swear by something, we're saying that we make a promise that this thing is very useful. For example, Mike really likes his old truck. He swears by it. This means that Mike really thinks his old truck is useful. Today's phrasal verb is to stand aside or to step aside. To stand aside or to step aside means that you let someone else take control. It's very similar to a phrasal verb we already learned, stand down. Step aside or stand aside means let me do it. If I tell you, step aside, this is like let me do it or let me have control. It could also mean something like watch how I do it. The president had no military experience, so he stepped aside for the general. This means that the president didn't know what he was doing and he gave control to the general. He moved out of the position of control. He stepped aside. I hope that helps you understand step aside and stand aside. Don't forget to press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment under the video. We have two phrasal verbs, to move on and to get on with something. Both of these phrasal verbs talk about continuing. As we discussed in a previous video, get on with something could mean to continue. But today we're talking about it in a different context. To move on or to get on with something, yes, means continue, but also means hurry up. Do it faster. For example, if you don't know the answer to a math problem, move on to the next one. In this case, move on means go forward, continue. It could also mean skip the last one, to move past something. Move on could also be about emotions. When her boyfriend broke up with her, it took her a long time to move on. Here, move on means to move past a specific point. Yes, it's like continue, but it's more about moving past. Get on with something is also about continuing, but it usually isn't about moving past something. It's about hurrying up or starting. So for example, we could say, get on with the video. Like stop wasting time and do it. Hurry up. You probably have seen this phrase in a lot of movies when one character is moving very slowly or has some hesitation and another character says, let's get on with it. Like, let's hurry up. Let's do it already. Today's phrasal verb is to look for. This one is a pretty simple and pretty common verb, so you might already know it. Look for something means to search. If you lose something, you might need to look for it. For example, your keys. If you lose your car keys, you need to look for them. It means you search and try to find. Probably one of the most common mistakes when trying to use look for is when people use a different phrasal verb, look at. Look at is about using your eyes and seeing something. Look for is not about seeing something, it's about finding something or trying to find something. So if I look at my keys, I know where they are. But if I look for my keys, I don't know where they are. I hope that helps you understand the difference between look at and look for. Don't forget to press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment under the video. Today's phrasal verb is to go over. Actually, this phrasal verb has several different meanings. We're going to talk about some of them today. One meaning is when we go somewhere and we need to go over another object. For example, the bridge goes over the river. If you walk on the bridge, you walk over the river. Another simple meaning of go over is when we want to say over there, meaning a far distance. We can say go over there. This is just a simple, direct meaning about movement. Go over could also be about exceeding a limit or doing more than you should. For example, the speed limit was 60 miles per hour and he went 70 miles per hour. He went over the speed limit. But the main meaning of go over that we want to focus on today, because it's not very clear from the two words that make up this phrasal verb, go over also means to review something, to look at it again. Before you sign a contract, you should go over it. This means you should look at it. You should review all of the parts of it. What are we doing in class today? We're going over phrasal verbs. I hope that gives you some more context about the phrasal verb to go over. Don't forget to press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment under the video. Today's phrasal verb is to hear of something. Now, sometimes people ask us if we know a famous person or a famous music group, an actor, you know, a celebrity. And when they ask us about this, they might say, hey, do you know Brad Pitt? And you can say, I don't know him personally, but I've heard of him. Here we use the phrasal verb to hear of someone or to hear of something. It means that we know about it, but we don't have any personal relationship with it. We're not really connected to this thing, but we have some information about it. Have you ever heard of Atlantis? Probably you have. In this example, we ask if you have any knowledge about the place called Atlantis. But we're not asking if you know it personally or if you have some specific details. Just you know that it exists. We use this phrasal verb a lot when we talk about music groups. You know the Beatles, right? No, but I've heard of them. In this case, the person doesn't know who the Beatles are, but they've heard the name the Beatles before. When we want to say this, we should use the phrasal verb to hear of something. Thanks for watching Daily Phrasal Verbs with Chris and Mary Coase. Don't forget to press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment under the video. Today's phrasal verb is to spell out. Now, a lot of you probably know what spell means. At least I hope. It's one of the basic things that you need to be able to do in English. To spell means to say a word using letters. For example, my name is Chris, and my name is spelled C-H-R-I-S. And now that I used letters to say my name, I can say that I've just spelled out my name. In some countries, people don't spell. People just sound out words. So there are two verbs that we should know about: spell out and sound out. If we sound something out, all we do is say the sounds. If we spell something out, we say the letters. So I could say, my name is Christopher. If someone asks me to sound it out, I can say Christopher. If someone asks me to spell it out, I could say C-H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R. We use spelling a lot in English, and when we don't understand someone, they might spell the word out. Another way that we use the verb to spell out is when we want to say something very, very simply. We can say, I explained it to him 5 times. I don't know how else to spell it out for him. It means I don't know how to say it in a simpler way. You might also hear someone say this at the beginning of a sentence. They might say, let me spell it out for you. This means, let me say it very simply. I hope that helps you understand the verb to spell out and the verb to sound out. Make sure you press like, press subscribe, and leave a comment under this video.